Hi there, I'm Jane Ractliffe. I'm the co-founder and Managing Director for Australia and New Zealand of Standard Media Index. We're the only company in the world to track advertising demand every month. We do that by collecting the payments from media agencies to all the major and smaller media all around the world. We've been operating now for 11 years. We started here in Australia, but we're now in the US, the UK, and recently launched in Canada. And we've also been operating in New Zealand for about 4 years. So, we are very much at the forefront of measuring what has been going on in the crazy world of media during this COVID time.
Jane, thank you so much for joining me today. You've been doing this for more than a decade. This past year, 2020, obviously everyone's world has been turned upside down. But I'm really curious about what you've seen on the media side of things, both where you are in Australia and New Zealand, and what you've been seeing with some of your clients around the world. How has this pandemic, COVID-19, impacted advertisers and media?
Well, we've never seen any impact like we have during the COVID pandemic. It is by far the largest decline in ad spend ever recorded in the history of media. During the GFC in 2008, 2009, we were collecting data then in Australia and New Zealand and the US and UK actually. And in Australia at least, the largest year-on-year decline that we saw in any month was 16%. And I think that was in about March 2009. But, with COVID, in Australia, the largest decline in May this year was 43.5%. Like the size of the impact for COVID is like nothing we've ever seen. And the other thing, Karim, about it is that it happened so quickly. At least with the GFC, you kind of had the Lehman Brothers collapse, further towards the end of 2008. And it took a little while for the negativity associated with that to pulse through the economy. But, with COVID, it was just straight away. March was the last time we had a really regular level of ad spend. And after that, it was just distressed, huge distress.
Wow. One of the things that anecdotally people were talking about was people spending more time online, whether that was on, their favorite news or sports websites, news for sure, to keep up with what was going on, but also social. There was a talk of how is this impacting music streaming and podcasts. So I'm curious, did you see sharp declines in specific types of media? I'm thinking of the obvious ones like out of home, maybe television. And did you see less declines or, were there any surprise increases?
During the depth of COVID, April, May, June, everyone was equally affected. Whether or not you were TV or digital, just the sheer weight of dollars coming out of the advertising market meant that everyone was down, regardless of your media type, But it's been interesting as we're starting to emerge from it. And, in Australia and New Zealand, we're getting to quite a COVID normal. We no longer have restrictions and, people are going to work and, normal life is pretty much resuming. And, in that environment, we're seeing TV really start to pick up and lead the market out. Digital for October got back to being flat, but, the digital media, we can see, there's almost like a two-speed media going on because we can see really strong growth in social media. So social media and video sites, so TV streaming sites and the like, are really getting all the ad spend at the moment, whereas programmatic, interestingly, is falling away. I would have thought, because programmatic historically, I know it's changing, but historically has been where you trade distressed ad inventory. And so you would think in times of high stress that would grow, but it's not. It's the exact opposite. It's back 30% in Australia at least.
That's really interesting.
It's really interesting, isn't it?
Is there any reasons why, do you think?
Look, I need to dig into it a bit more and ask around, because it's across the board. It's the agency trading desks as well as the programmatic platforms. So all of them are equally affected. So maybe more money, is going into, the premium content sites, because, another trend we've seen is that the decline in digital ad spend, which has historically affected everyone during COVID, has been slightly less, like the degree of decline on premium content sites is less than it is for programmatic. So presumably spend is moving back to the, people want to make sure that for the money they are spending, they know where it goes.
That is
and maybe programmatic is too risky at this time,
Wow. And you're seeing this globally?
Certainly in Australia. I'm pretty sure in the US, programmatic is back as well. I haven't checked the UK, haven't checked Canada, but I know definitely Australia, and I'm pretty sure the US. I looked at New Zealand. I think that was back a little bit, but not to the same degree in Australia. In Australia, It's back a lot, yeah.
Are you forecasting 2021 to be a big bounce back for media spend, or is it too early to tell? What are your thoughts?
We've done lots of analysis on the bounce back post the GFC. And the one thing we know for sure, and our data is actual spend data, it's not estimates. So like in terms of, national marketers, because that's what buy through media agencies, so national advertisers, we know that in 2010, so after the GFC, across the board in every market, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, US, UK, there was a minimum 10% jump in ad spend growth, minimum. So it's like this big hockey stick that we saw. And the Australian market is coming out of COVID in a very unique environment in the sense that, our market was in decline well before COVID started. So we've just reported, look, we've been a bit of a basket case, to be honest. We've had 25 months of consecutive declines.
Wow.
Yeah. So two years of low, and look, there's been numerous reasons for it. We had a change in prime ministership, and that upset business confidence. And as you know, ad spend follows business confidence.
Yeah.
And that really started this chain reaction because soon after that we had terrible floods. Then you probably would have seen the terrible bushfires that we had.
Yes.
All of that really affected advertising confidence. And then, in Australia, we have a lot of English people. And for reasons unknown, they were really scared or worried about Brexit.
Okay.
And the US-China relationship as well, really affected with all the uncertainty around that. In the UK, we can see ad spend in the UK, where the home of Brexit was still growing. But in Australia, one of the things like all the business confidence surveys say, so worried about Brexit, even though we're on the other side of the world.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, so all of that meant that coming into COVID, we were in a negative state anyway. So, in our market at least, there has to be a massive amount of pent-up demand. There must be multiple campaigns that have just been sitting on the back burner, multiple product launches.
Yeah.
So all of those will eventually launch, one would think, in 2021, given that our world at least is returning to normal. And, the other thing that I say to marketers and our agency partners here is that Australia and New Zealand, we're COVID normal. you know, people are going to work. You know, everyone goes to school. People are out and about. You know, foot traffic is still back a bit, but nothing like it was because there's no restrictions. So, you know, if you're a global marketer and you want to test a product, why wouldn't you do it here? So, you know, I would think, because we're the most normal economy, you know, we've still got strong discretionary income. You know, our employment levels are better than anywhere else. You know, of course, everyone's been, you know, unemployment has risen during COVID, but, you know, ours isn't as bad as many other countries. You know, so we've got a good underlying economy. It's still COVID affected. You know, we don't have international visitors and all the rest, but, you know, the majority of the economy is operating normally.
People are going to restaurants, movies.
Oh, yeah. Christmas parties are everywhere.
Yeah. On the beach as well.
Yeah. Look, you're still supposed to do social distancing and, you know, like there's precautionary things.
Yes.
But, you know, like people are being encouraged back to work. All the restaurants are open. Pubs are returning to normal levels of patronage. You know, we're very much the lucky country in this sense. And, you know, I would expect a lot more global marketers, you know, if they want to pursue a new product launch or whatever, why wouldn't you do it here first?
For sure. Jane, one other thing I wanted to ask you related to this, you know, you talked about earlier, you've seen programmatic decline, not tick up as much as other media types. We've obviously seen e-commerce, at least here in North America, you know, really boom, you know, especially in Canada. It's really grown, double digits. So I'm curious if you know, in 2021, you know, are you making recommendations? Are you thinking that marketers need to sort of, you know, need to prioritize where they're spending, you know, whether it's on premium sites versus programmatic? Are you recommending that, you know, if you've got the ability to invest in e-commerce, that companies look to do that? You know, what are your thoughts on some of these sort of innovations, whether it be in marketing or in e-commerce?
Look, our market is a bit different to the US and Canada in the way that online retail and marketing is juxtaposed. You know, I know when I look at the US data for SMI, you know, Amazon is a huge media in its own right. You know, it tracks a lot of advertising. And, you know, really that's only just starting in Australia. So, you know, Amazon launched here, I don't know, a year ago, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's look, obviously it's a massive opportunity for them. And, you know, they've been building up their team and, you know, it looks as though they're going to, you know, really get some good traction. But it's really just starting in Australia. eBay's been here a long time and they're doing well. But, you know, the size of the spend, you know, retailers still in Australia spend by far the most of their money on television. Easily.
Okay.
Yeah, they're big radio advertisers, big outdoor advertisers.
Where does digital audio sit in Australia? You know, there's brands like Spotify. I don't know whether Pandora's in Australia yet, but you know, whether either there are these brands. How is that? How are marketers taken to these channels?
Well, we're now measuring podcasts. So, and Spotify is the other big audio play here. Spotify has been one of the real success stories through COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been interesting. We've seen their national marketer ad spend grow maybe about 20% during this period. They've been one of the strongest performing. It's really interesting.
Impressive.
Yeah. And, podcasts definitely growing. We get the media spend for, like the aggregators like Acast and Podcast One and the like.
Yeah.
And look, it's growing fast, but, it's coming from a very small base.
Yes.
It's really just starting to be monetized. But it's growing, and I'm sure it will continue to become more and more significant next year.
I know everybody is really excited for 2021. We are seeing, Russia has a vaccine that looks to be successful. I think today we saw the first person in the UK be vaccinated. The Prime Minister here in Canada said we're getting a large shipment of vaccines in the coming days or weeks. I think, people are seeing the end of the tunnels. We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. But I'm really curious, when people are optimistic, again, business confidence is there then, and then the economy sort of follows up when people are excited and happy. But I'm curious from your perspective, what are you thinking is going to be happening in the media landscape over the next 12 to 18 months? What sort of things do you see on the horizon?
Growth, and more growth. Yeah, like I think, COVID will change people's perception in the sense that, they're going to be more appreciative of things. And I think, our generation's never really been through a tough time. We've never experienced a world war or any of the things that kind of made our grandparents. And this is our kind of equivalent moment, I think. And I think we're going to have a much greater appreciation of life and be more thankful for things and generally more positive, and, not take things for granted in the way that we did previously, So, they say after every major event, major difficult times, whether it's world wars or, recessions or whatever, people's optimism springs back when they can see things getting better. And I think that's going to be reflected strongly in ad spend. I think there'll be lots of interest in new products and services. I think, the manufacturers will, tap into that and try and, really ramp up their R&D and develop new and exciting things. There might be new industries that launch, the whole e-commerce thing that you mentioned might create, some spin-offs, some more interesting things. The stock markets are already doing well. It's extraordinary, isn't it, that we're in a recession, or certainly an advertising recession, and it was, I think our Q3 in Australia was definitely an economic recession as well.
Yeah.
The stock markets are still at record highs. It's just extraordinary.
Yes.
And I can't see that changing. Like if investor confidence has survived through COVID, it's only going to pick up further.
Yes.
So it bodes well for a really amazing 2021, and I would say a future decade. We had, prior to the start of our downturn in Australia, we had record ad spend for 6 or 7 consecutive years coming out of the GFC. Wow. It was amazing, like every year, more growth. And like we've been in a terrible funk here for the past 2 years. But it's coming to an end. We can see it in the data, the decline that we reported in Australia in October was the lowest since September 2019.
Wonderful.
And there's a chance that, in November, the market could be positive. It's definitely going to be positive in New Zealand in November. And, in the US, we've already seen a couple of months of positive ad spend, September and October, off the back of strong TV bookings. So, we're coming out of it, and it's going to be a magnificent 2021, in my opinion.
Wonderful. Well, I am with you on that, Jane. Yeah, fingers are crossed, of course, but definitely looking forward to the spring of
Yeah.
2021. I think the whole year is going to feel like spring. It's going to feel like growth. Jane Ractliffe, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Karim. Been a pleasure.
Power your advertising. Working with Active International enables you to fund your advertising using your company's own products, assets, or even services. We have over 30 years' experience connecting and bringing value to businesses all over the globe, helping many brands scale up into household names. Want to achieve more from your marketing spend? Contact Active International today.